how to defend proposal, project proposal defense. There are key elements you need to understand the project proposal defense, and this is compulsory for every final year student. Now, when you get to final year, you will write your project, and then there are two basic processes you will pass through. Number one is the proposal defense, then you come to the final defense. The proposal defense comprises of chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 3, and then with your references and your instrument. Now, you'll be expected to spend nothing more than 15 minutes to present your work. In most cases, it will be likely 10 minutes. And then you will be asked a lot of questions as the panel may deem fit. Now, basically, as a student standing before the panel to do your defense, you need to understand, number one, your topic. Your topic is the most important thing for you to understand. There are a lot of students that will stand before a panel and they don't know the topic they are there to defend. It simply means you are not the owner of that work. You just pick it from somewhere to present it to the panel. And when you have understanding of your topic, knowing your topic, then you can be able to say it before the panel. Now, first thing to do in proposal defense, when you are called to face the panel, you first greet the panel. Starting from the chairman, other professors, and the other members of the panel. And then you greet your colleagues there if there are anyone there. And then you introduce yourself. You mention your name and then your program you are doing, because in some departments you have different programs going on, and that is what you do. And then you will not tell them the topic you are there to present. For example, you are talking about blended learning as a determinant of student instructional outputs, and then you introduce what we call introduction, background to the study. Now remember, in your chapter 1 you have 1.1 to 1.7 for undergraduate students, and most likely in postgraduate you have 1.1 to 1.8 because of the addition of your hypothesis. Now, in brief 2 minutes you introduce your topic. You talk about what the topic is all about. When you talk about what the topic is all about, then you move on to your statement of the problem, which happens to be the 1.2. Your statement of the problem, you talk about what you see and why you are carrying out that study. Now, you talk about what you see, the problem on ground, the efforts they have made to address that problem, and then the rationale, the reason why you are carrying out that particular study. That's as your statement of the problem. And then when you talk about the statement of the problem, you talk about your research objective, which happen to be your purpose of study, which is also known as your objective. The purpose of the study can be in general form. We have the main purpose of the study, which is also known as your topic, and then you have the specific objectives. Your specific objectives are the subdivision of your sub-variables from your dependent variable. In every topic, we have the dependent and the independent variable. So your sub-variables you have used. What are those sub-variables you have used in your purpose of the study? Sometimes you may use up to 4, 5, or 6 as the case may be. And then you tell them those purpose of the study, the objectives of the study. After stating the objective of the study, you go ahead to tell them that those same objectives are being transferred or transformed as a research question. But for masters and postgraduate PhD students, we have a research hypothesis as well. But for undergraduate students, we just have the research question and the research objective. And then you move on to your scope of the study. In the scope of the study, in professional research writing, we have the context and we have the geographical scope. Now, in the context, we are talking about the scope is talking about the delimitation. Scope is not limitation. In most cases, so many researchers mistaking the scope to be limitation. Limitation are the hindrances and barriers you encounter during your study, while the delimitations are the where you want your work to end. There are many variables to carry out in a study. For example, you talk about teachers' effectiveness, determinants of teachers' effectiveness. You may likely have instructional materials, you may likely have good communication and the rest of them. But then there are a lot of them, but you want to delimit it to a particular either 4 or 5 of them. So that is the scope of your study. Then when you talk about the geographical location of your study, we talk about the scope, where the study is being carried out. Is it in Bayelsa State, among secondary schools, higher institutions, and wherever they study? Or is it among 300 level students, 200 level students, or is it among all the students in that department? That is the scope. Now, in defense presentation, significance of the study and operational definitions are not things to mention while presenting, because you have just about 10 minutes, 15 minutes to do justice. When you come to chapter 2, in most departments or faculties, the formats are different. But in general term, the chapter 2 of a project writing contains, we have the theoretical framework, we have the empirical review, we have the empirical evidence, and then we also have what we call appraisal of literature or summary of literature. Now, take it this way. Sometimes the empirical, the conceptual review may come before the theoretical framework as the format deemed fit. But in Faculty of Education, Niger Delta University, for the undergraduate students, the conceptual review comes before the theoretical framework. And then one of the biggest problems people do have is how to put on these things. But then don't bother about talking about the chapter 2. Likely questions may come, but they are not too concerned about that chapter 2. Then you come to chapter 3. When you come to chapter 3 has 3.1 to 3.8. Now, these are the most important things you will discuss in your chapter 3. Now, in few minutes, talk about the design of the study. You talk about your population. The population, what is the population of your study? Then you talk about the sample and the sampling technique. Your sample of the study, and then your sampling technique you adopted for the study. Probably your study sample contains all the population of the study based on the fact that the population is manageable. And then you are using census sampling technique. Census sampling technique is when all the entities of the population are used for as the sample of the study. And then you talk about the instrumentation. You are using either interview, you are using either questionnaire, and if you are using questionnaire, most likely your questionnaire will be divided into different sections. Section A is likely taking the demographic data of students or respondents. Now, respondents are those who are responding to your questionnaire. Those who are to answer your questionnaire are known as respondents. And then the other sections of the questionnaire will contain the information about your research questions. And then you have your validity. Instrument is basically validated by your researcher. Your researcher will the research supervisor will go through the instrument, and then it will validate it, and then other experts from test and measurement and other departments that are related to that your topic will now validate the instrument. Then reliability of the instrument is carried out by giving to at least 10-20 persons of the same future, maybe student, business education student, that are not in the same institution. You go to another institution to administer the instrument to them. Either you use the pilot test, retest, or you use just administer the instrument once. If your instrument is to be administered twice, that means you are using either the Pearson product moment correlation coefficient to determine the reliability, because you have to use a statistical tool to determine the coefficient of that instrument. But if the instrument is administered once, you are testing the internal consistency of that instrument, and that will likely be just you are going to use the Cronbach alpha, because Cronbach alpha is used to test the internal consistency of the instrument, which is administered once. And then you talk about administration of the instrument, how the instrument was administered or will be administered. In proposal, you are using will. Is a futuristic term that you will administer, you will do this, you will do this. Then it is after the proposal, you will now come up to tell them you have done this. But as far as this proposal, you are talking about what you will do. The statements will be in your study. And then you talk about the method of data analysis. A method of data, demographic data are normally analyzed by using simple percentage and a question. Maybe you use either mean analysis or any other analysis that may likely suit the study. There are a lot of them that are used to analyze the data. Now, once you state this thing, then you thank the panel for giving you time to present this, and then you wait for them to ask you questions. Now, one of the basic questions probably they will ask is, what do you intend, what is the gap you intend to fill in your study? There are existing works, research works on that same or particular topic that they may likely ask, okay, this study has been carried out by so person, so you carrying out this same study, what do you intend to fill in this particular study you are carrying, your gap? What do you intend to fill? What is the problem you see that you want to solve? Those are questions they will likely ask. And when they ask you questions, and they may ask you the operational definition of terms, they may ask you about your topic. They may ask you about your topic, the topic you are working on. They may likely ask you definitions of terms in that topic. They may also likely ask you about the dependent and the independent variable of that topic. So you, as a student, what you need to do is to read your work over and over. And whatever mistake that is found in your work, don't blame the typist. Don't blame the principal consultant that you consulted to do work for you. Don't blame anybody. Blame yourself. Accept it as your own fault. You don't go to the defense panel and start telling them that it was so person that typed the work for me and it wasn't that. Because as a student, you are expected to go through your work over and over, read it and correct every mistake before presenting it. So that is the best thing to do. As a proposal defense, it will not take more than 5, 10, 15 minutes for you to present, as the case may be. Depending on the number of students, they may likely say, okay, 10 minutes or 5 minutes or 15 minutes. So that is how to do the proposal. Prepare yourself, read the work, know your statement of the problem, know the background of your study, know the purpose of the study, the specific objective, the research questions, your scope of the study, all the subheadings in the chapter 2, and know the chapter 3, the entire subheadings in chapter 3, 3.1 to 3.8. Know all of them, and then you are done. Thank you for watching. More will be coming on your way. Click the subscribe button, follow the channel, and then you will get more educational content in this channel. Thank you.